Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Blue Tron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So, today we're exploring predator plants, which is an archetype of plant-type monsters that are required to knock on your door and inform you of their sex crimes when they move into your neighborhood. Now, no one asked me to do this video, but I saw the archetype, thought it looked fun, and decided to check them out for myself. Let's jump into Deck Edit and I'll show you what I've put together. So this is the list I settled on. Now, there's really only two ways to play Predator plants at this point in time. The first is a really bad control deck that uses Predator counters to grind advantage out of your opponents and use their monsters as fodder for your fusion summons. It's slow, the effects don't synergize well, they're not particularly powerful, and truthfully, they're not worth spending a lot of time on. The second way is basically Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon Turbo, and that's fine because Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon is busted, but, you know, Ape of Cleafort Towers, this guy is not. You can't actually kill this monster, so we're trying to make a deck that makes it so summoning Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon wins the game on its own, and to do that, we're playing a lot of interesting card choices. We're also playing at least one copy of each of the Predator plants just so we can get an idea of how they synergize with each other, even though some of them are terrible. So let's start at the beginning. We got 3 copies of Predator plant Fly Hell, which is just the edgiest name for a card I've ever heard. I'm sure this will just get localized to Predator Plant Fly Trap. Think of it as a single-use construct. It destroys a monster before damage calculation if it's got a Predator counter on it effectively. Actually pretty good. Searchable off of Lone Fire Blossom. Removal spell. Sticks around. Good for fusions. I like it. Then we got 3 copies of Predator Plant Sundew King Eye. Another pretty good card. He acts as both a resource and a polymerization for a fusion summon. If your opponent has a monster with a predator counter on it, you can use that as fodder for your fusions as well. 2 copies of Moray Nefetus. This is just a beater once Black Garden gets online. More on that in a second, but it equips the monsters it destroys to itself, and then you can pop those monsters to gain life points. 2 copies of Squid Dorosa, a card that really should be a spell card. When this face-up card's destroyed, you add a predator counter to every monster your opponent controls, and you can send it from your hand to the graveyard to have one monster you control attack every monster with a predator counter on it. Would be much better if there was a consistent way to get predator counters on your opponent's monsters, and it would be nice if her other effect did not require you to waste your normal summon. 1 copy of Predator Plant Tenefrin... Jesus Christ. What is with Yu-Gi-Oh? Anyway, this card is not particularly good. When it inflicts battle damage, you put a Predator counter on something, then you can take control of something with a lower level, which means it has a Predator counter on it. Unfortunately, it has 300 attack, so you're never really getting that effect. Your best bet is to set it in face-down defense mode and hope your opponent is an idiot and attacks it, which will happen exactly 1 time. That's why we're playing 1. 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. This can get Teraphanes and also Fly Hell, which is usually the target. 2 copies of Debris Dragon because we're playing Lone Fire Blossom. 3 copies of Tragodia. This is our level 8 or higher dark monster for Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. I love Tragodia. I think this card is severely undervalued, and it's not particularly powerful, but it's super cool. 2 copies of Lunalight Black Sheep. This card's nuts as hell. You can get a poly with it. In that way, it's effectively King of the Swamp, but it also has incidental synergy with Debris Dragon, Allure of Darkness. It's a dark monster for Rafflesia. The list goes on and on. 3 copies of Allure. This card is never dead in this deck. 2 copies of Instant Fusion in order to get Nodin and, extend plays. A Regeki, 3 polys. 2 Desires, 2 Terraforming to get our 3 Black Garden. 3 Predator Planter, which is basically, Miracle Fertilizer, but slightly different. And then 3 Black Gardens. Now, the point is, if we land a Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon and then play Black Garden, then our opponent is really sort of locked out of the game for the most part. Interestingly enough, the same thing happens if we summon Moray Nefetus and then play Black Garden. A lot of our monsters just aren't very powerful, and making sure that those monsters can stack up to whatever our opponent is doing is sort of the point of Black Garden in and of itself. We got 2 copies of Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. This card's nuts. Once per turn, it can target a monster on the field. Its attack becomes 0 and its effects are negated. When this card's destroyed, you can banish a level 8 or higher dark monster from your graveyard and bring him back. That means you can use the Tragodia you used for his fusion to bring him back. You can also send multiple copies of Tragodia over the course of this card being out, and then get rid of those to recur him. Really, really nice card. Then we have Star Venom Fusion Dragon. God, we have the new one. Get out of here. We got 2 copies of Predator Plant Chimera Rafflesia. This is a new addition to the deck. It is a single target banishment removal spell. Really sweet. Makes a couple appearances in the duels. We got Nodin. Then we got our Debris Dragon package. That is Clearwing Synchro, Black Rose Moonlight, Black Rose Not Moonlight, and Coral Dragon. Then, because we're playing Norden and we have some rank 4s, I put in some Xyz. We got Utopia and Lightning. We got Castell. And then because we have a lot of rank 2s, I also put in Crumble Logos and Sky Cavalry Centauria. So let's jump into the games and see what happens. So our first matchup is up against Fluffles. Now, it looks like our opponent has bricked to some degree. I don't see the toy vendor shenanigans that I'm used to with Fluffles. We've drawn pretty well. We got a Pot of Desires, we have a Lone Fire Blossom, we have a way to get Polymerization. I'm feeling all right. So we're going first, and like an idiot, we're going to Pot of Desires first, banishing all 3 copies of Polymerization. That's not true. We're going to play Lone Fire Blossom and then use her effect in order to get Sundew Kigai. We actually don't have any Lone Fires left in the deck, I found out. And then Sundew Kigai is going to fuse itself and Tragodia into Greedy Venom Starving Dragon. Then we'll get it back with Predator Planter. So I'm feeling pretty good. We got Fusion Dragon out. We have a Tragodia in Grave in case he tries to destroy it. He's going to polymerize for Tiger. Of course, I'm going to have to bring this guy back. Why wouldn't I? And then all the monsters on the field get destroyed. His last card is Fright for Fusion, which he uses to get Tiger. But I'm like, that's fine. We're going to play this second Desires, use Fusion Dragon's effect in order to negate the effects of Saber Tiger, play Debris Dragon, get back Lone Fire, go into Black Rose Moonlight, play the Poly in our hand to get rid of these last 2 Predators for Rafflesia, and attack for 8,000. It feels like we're a real deck that has real combos. I love it. So in classic YGO Pro fashion, we're just hitting the best net decks on Earth today. Right now we're playing against level 1 Chaos Control, which I assume has to be the greatest deck in the history of time. We'll get Black Garden out as soon as we Lone Fire our way to a second Lone Fire, to a third Lone Fire, to a Sundew Kigai. So we're going to go ahead and make Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon right now, thin our deck as much as possible, and play a Black Garden. Now, I know that anything he plays is not going to be able to get over Greedy Venom Starve Dragon, and he plays Mystic Piper, and I'm like, oh god, these Rose tokens are going to be super relevant. I don't think he can get over those with level 1 monsters. We're going to Debris Dragon our Lone Fire Blossom back, and then use the 2 of them to sync into the one, the only Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So I'm going to go ahead and attack in with as much as I can. Losing this token, big unfortunate. However, I'm feeling pretty happy with myself. Our opponent sets Aroma Jar. We know he has it, but I'm hoping that the card he played was not Aroma Jar. We're going to go ahead and attack in. He mass changed 2s into Dark Law, and I'm like, well, that's fine. I mean, I can still kill Dark Law. I'm not particularly mad about that. Then he has Aroma Jar, and I'm like, well, here we are, you know, my old friend. Thankfully, we have Greedy Venom Starve Dragon, which will allow us to make sure that this Aroma Jar can be killed by normal means, and then Kinkabino goes back to his hand. We're going to go ahead and just try it, and negate its effects, attack in, attach it to itself, and then go for lethal. And here's Battle Fader! Hooray! Now I'm expecting to get Battle Fadered every turn for the rest of the game, and he plays Caius. And then banishes my Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. So that's not very good. Mirror Resonator tries to do its thing, but I'm like, yeah, I guess I can negate that. That sounds fine. He's going to attack into Clearwing, he's going to attack into the Predator Plant, and he's going to attack into one of the tokens. So he must be feeling pretty good, but I'm feeling slightly better because I can Instant Fusion, get Norden, use Norden to get a 4-star, use the 4-star to go into Utopia. Now, funny joke about Utopia the Lightning, it does not say double this monster's attack. It says make the attack 5,000. So even in Black Garden, I can do 4,200 points of damage and win. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, you know what that means. It's the fun police. They were seeing we were having too much fun, and now we are gonna have to get Fossil Dyned. Our opponent is just playing this deck again. I don't know why everyone on YGO Pro is so infatuated with this Barrier Statue Stun deck, but they are. He's going to go ahead and Duality for a Dark Bribe. At this point, we're actually in a pretty commanding position. Our opponent, you know, just has a Fossil Dyna and nothing important about it. He's going to Soul Drain our Lunalight Black Sheep. Bad news, buddy. It activates in the hand. The effect resolves in the graveyard, which means I do get it. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, just play Fly Hell. I don't really have a lot of outs to this Fossil Dyna. Fly Hells and Regeki are, in fact, my only outs. So we're going to play this other Black Garden, hoping that he Dark Bribes. I don't really want the Black Garden out. And I draw another Fly Hell, and I'm like, okay, let's go. And then he, Air Forces. I'm like, whatever, that's not particularly good. That's fine. He draws a Regeki, which becomes really relevant pretty soon. We're going to Fly Hell, attack this Fossil Dyna. Now, important to note, if we could have just Fusion Summoned here, we would have won the whole game. But, of course, we can't because the Lord hates us. And, of course, off the top, he's going to go ahead and draw a Card of Demise. And, of course, one of the cards he draws off Card of Demise is Barrier Statue of the Drought. So I'm feeling pretty completely fucked right now. I can attack this Barrier Statue of the Drought, and he flips Phantom Knight's Sword. A hot piece of tech that is incredibly powerful. He plays Dimension Fissure, another Card of Demise, why not? And all of a sudden, I am just going to lose this game. I'm like, well, I guess if I Regeki, and then I draw the third Fly Hell, I can destroy both of these cards, but that's a several turn prospect. We're going to go ahead and draw as much as we can. There's Regeki. He Dark Bribes it, and I'm like, I think that's actually the end of the game. I don't think I can win this. I'm going to set a card and end my turn. Now, here's where things get interesting. My opponent just ends his turn. I guess he was fearing, like, I drew a Quaking or something, which is, like, a reasonable fear. But he just keeps ending his turn. And it's because I have less cards in my deck because I desired, but we're literally just passing back and forth for the rest of the game. Now, I thought to myself, do I actually have a way to win? And then I'm like, actually, I think I do. If I can attack Dorosia into one of these monsters, put a Predator counter on all of them, and then use the second Dorosia to make a Tragodia that I Tribute summoned able to attack everyone, I can clear his board, provided one of his set cards isn't a Mirror Force, which of course it is. It's at this point I recognize, oh shit, I have Black Garden activated. So there's no possible way this Tragodia is going to be able to get over anything. It would have to have 6,000 attack points, which will never happen because I only have like 5 cards left in my deck. At this point I realize all is lost. I'm going to Allure of Darkness my way to death, make another Tragodia, and then just completely lose it. So we're back with the deck. Now, after those fun and interactive games, I can safely say that this deck was actually a lot of fun. I had fun playing it. I think the strategy was cool. The list felt like there were a lot of different engines sort of working together to form this one coherent whole. I really liked it. There were, of course, cards that were bad. I would probably take out a copy of Tithernius and either one or two of these Squid Dorosias. They're just a weird card that doesn't fit with the rest of the deck, really. We would put in probably a third copy of Moray Nefetus. This card is slightly more stunning than I expected it to be. A third copy of Lunalight Black Sheep in order to make the deck slightly more consistent, and I don't know, maybe even a third Terraforming. Truthfully, I thought there was a lot of play to this deck, and if it turns out things like Rafflesia are not super or secret rares, then you might as well take it to your locals. If you do, you can probably even take out these Pot of Desires. I mean, there's no reason to drop $87 twice on 2 cards for a deck that is not particularly going to go anywhere in the near future, and you're drawing enough cards with Allure of Darkness and adding cards to your hand with Lunalight Black Sheeps anyway. I thought the deck was really fun. I thought it had a lot of play. Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon feels absurdly powerful, and I just like playing plants. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed watching the second Black Garden video in a row for this week of Black Garden decks that I didn't plan. I hope you enjoyed watching Sundew Kigai come tantalizingly close to just being super poly, and most of all, I just hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to see me play the decks we make on this show on stream, I stream every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the description. Finally, if there's a certain deck or archetype you want me to play in an upcoming episode, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to accommodate you. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday.